Yeah, right, that's working. Hey guys, how are we doing? We're back for another one of our live stream podcasts today. Been recording a few non-live ones over the last few days, but we have got a very special guest all the way from sunny Los Angeles today, making us even more jealous that we're in rainy England. We've actually not had some bad weather for the last few days, but definitely making me feel very jealous that we've got someone from LA with us. But as always, we're recording this for later use on YouTube as well, and on my podcast, which is available on iTunes and Spotify and wherever else you guys listen to your podcast. So we will be recording. So you have to excuse me in a moment, redoing the introduction. And if any of you guys have got questions along the way, please drop them in the comment box. Say a little hello, ask us anything that you want to know, and I will try and include them as best as possible in the chronology of the conversation. Don't think I'm too rude if I don't get to do it, but like I say, we are recording this for use afterwards as well. So there we go. Right, David, if you're good to go, buddy, we'll redo our intro and start again.
I'm all good to go, Matt.
Let's go. Hey guys, it's Matt Haycox here, and we're here for another lockdown special podcast. We're streaming this live on Facebook and YouTube, and we're also recording this so that a lot of you guys listening to this will be hearing it on iTunes and Spotify and wherever else you kind of consume your content from me. Now, today, I've got a guest with me who has been described by The Economist as a man with impeccable credentials as a telecom revolutionary. He's been described by the BBC as the Boston tough guy who made 750 million. And the Irish Independent describes him as the most successful Irish-American tech businessman you might never have heard of. Guys, I've actually genuinely spent about 30 minutes trying to condense this biography and introduction into something more timely, and really struggling to remove all the achievements and accolades and everything that this man has done. But I've got with me David McCourt, who is a businessman, an investor, a tech entrepreneur, and of late an author as well. His debut book is Total Rethink: Why Entrepreneurs Should Act Like Revolutionaries. And that was launched in the summer of 2019 and quickly became a bestseller with the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and Amazon. And never is there a time more apt that we need a total rethink. So it seems fantastically timely that we've got David with us now today. So thanks a lot for being here, David, all the way from LA.
It's good to be here, Matt. It's great to be with you. And it is sunny in LA, but you've had good weather the last few weeks as well.
That's long forgotten, mate. Long forgotten. I'm sat recording this, looking out my window, hearing the rain drop on my roof. So you're not going to stop me being jealous, whatever you say.
The rain will stop in the next 6 months. Don't worry.
Listen, obviously, I've given a bit of an introduction to you, which it doesn't do 1% justice to everything you've got to say. I mean, I know we're going to talk a lot about your book today, but can you kind of set the scene for us a little bit? Explain your background, how you got to where we are today, how the book started, and then maybe we can go into some of the content of that.
Sure. Well, Matt, I mean, you did a good job, and I appreciate that introduction. But I started as a contractor, just building telecom systems, and then I was lucky enough to invent a method of extruding the conduit over the cable, which revolutionized the way people design and build cable systems. Then I built my own, which was the first competitive phone company in America, a company called Corporate Communications Network. We merged that into MFS, created a company called MFS McCourt. Then we sold MFS into a $14.5 billion deal to MCI WorldCom. I then went to Mexico and I built all the cable and phone systems from Hermosillo to Guadalajara. And that was a deal we were very proud of, because we changed the time to get a phone or a cable line from a year wait to a few days by the time we were done. So, and we also dropped the price 30%. Then had a TV station in the Caribbean, started producing content. We won 12 Emmys by producing content, mostly stuff about children or for children. We took Angelina Jolie to Africa and did a documentary on refugees in Tanzania. We did a documentary with Mike Douglas on children soldiers in Sierra Leone. We had a children's show here in the States called Reading Rainbow. But I think more important than the stuff I've done in the past, or more exciting for me anyways, what we're doing now, which is we're running the largest public-private partnership in Europe in the telecom space. We're building a fiber to every man, woman, and child in Ireland. It's the first country that says it's a human right to have fiber, and we're doing that. It's a $5 billion deal, which we're very excited about, and working on some new content ideas around the Total Rethink book that I just wrote.
I tell you what, I bet there's not many kids out there nowadays that don't think it's a human right to have access to Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got my daughter in the background, bit behind the screen, laying on the floor, pretending to be working for school, tapping away on her iPhone. And I just, I mean, I'm 39, so I'm kind of in that hybrid age of remembering what it was like to not have as much tech, but also kind of completely taking it for granted as well. But I always smile when I have conversations with her sometimes to think that the iPhone was born like in the same month that she was born, and it's just incredible the rapid evolution of technology. In kind of the last 12 months, 36 months, 10 years. It's just unbelievable what people like yourself are thinking of.
Well, look, when I started in the business, making a phone call was 30 cents a minute, so that gives you an idea. Today it's virtually free, and then you ride video and data on top of that. It's changing, but the changes that are coming now forward, Matt, are going to be more dramatic than the changes we've seen in the past. The changes we saw from no internet to internet 1.0 to internet 2.0, which is the internet that your daughter that's on the floor there, that's the only internet she knows, where you can communicate at real time with a machine, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. But Internet 3.0 is going to be a world of difference from what we're dealing with now. And those are the jobs we need to start to rethink. How do we get people into those jobs? I don't think that the world has the entrepreneurs that listen to your show need to take advantage of this, because the bureaucrats and big companies, they have no idea how much change is coming. The change that we're going to see, Matt, is going to be unbelievable. And it's going to be compounded, of course, because of this COVID crackdown or stopping of the global economy.
I mean, can you give us some specific examples of the kind of things you're implying or talking about there?
Well, the opportunity, first let's set up the opportunity. The opportunity is that training on skills is sort of on a flat slope. We sort of train people the same way now that we did before, but yet the existing jobs are on a downward slope. When's the last time someone hired a secretary, for instance, right? I mean, everybody that had an office used to have one of those. I mean, it's just, that's just a silly little one example. But the jobs, you could use another example for manufacturing, or you could use a coal mining example, or whatever you want. But those jobs are going down. The jobs we need, the slope for that need has never been higher. So that's where the entrepreneurs listening to your show need to focus. But to give you some examples, Internet 1.0 was just moving ones and zeros more efficiently, right? Internet 2.0 was you and I being able to communicate with a machine in real time. With that machine, whether we're communicating on LinkedIn or Instagram or Google or whatever we're doing, we're communicating in real time. When machines can communicate with machines in real time at the consumer level, that's a whole different, kettle of fish. That's when not only can you read your book on your machine, your book can read the other books. So books can read books. You can buy a book and it can tell you, you can type in, what does this book say that's different from every other book I've read? What does this book say that I've agreed with every other book I've read? What does this book say that has the same reference points to every other book I've read? Or you can set your computer to program that so only that information comes up. I mean, the change is going to be 1,000,000%. There'll be another 1,000,000% change in technology from now over the next 20 years.
And I mean, how far ahead do like the big tech thinkers, the big tech businesses, how far ahead are they actually working? I mean, I guess there's some product deliverables always change, but have these people got like product pipelines? Almost with like, this is going to be delivered in 60 months. This is going to be delivered in 8 to 10 years. I mean, is it that, like, behind the scenes? Is it that formal?
Sure, but I wouldn't worry about. It's not the big tech companies you're worried about. It's two girls in their garage or two guys in their basement that are creating the new thing that you have to worry about. The big companies are going to protect their profit margins and protect their customers. I mean, you take huge companies like Facebook. So Facebook makes money off of users' data, right? And that's how their model works. That model is going away. And I don't know whether it's going away in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, but there is no way in the future. Just like I knew when I started that phone calls weren't going to stay at 30 cents a minute, no way consumers in the future aren't going to own their own data. There's no way someone could create another company today where they're going to say, I'm going to own all my users' data and they're going to do all the work for me. And then I'm going to own all the data and I'm going to monetize that and make billions with a B, billions of dollars off the back of those consumers. That's going away. The question is, when does it go away? I said that the cable TV bundle was going to go away and someone was going to compete with the cable TV model through streaming content direct to homes. And everybody said I was crazy. I gave a speech to JP Morgan and said that, in 1998. So, 22 years ago, I said that. And I thought that was going to happen in 10 years, but it took a little longer. But, Netflix added 15.9 million subscribers last quarter. So since COVID, just in America, where we've increased per week 50 billion minutes of streaming.
But I mean, again, when we talk about what we mentioned earlier about how I guess I feel sat in that hybrid age, and again, like my daughter can hear this in the background. It makes me smile when you mention Netflix. I think she's been here for a few days. We're doing our content consuming. Getting bored on Netflix, moving over to Amazon Prime, half stopping something, moving something else. But I mean, what she doesn't appreciate is when I was her age, if I wanted to see a movie, I got excited about it coming out for 4 weeks. I walked down to the movie store, with my dad wanting to be there at 7 p.m. because the movie store had only bought, 30 copies of that VHS movie. And if I wasn't the one getting it then I might not be able to get it for another 48 hours. I mean, it's just, and like I say, I feel old having that conversation, knowing I'm not old. And when I think back to my parents and my parents' parents, people who are still alive, it's just, I mean, you just can't get your head around tech.
And it's going to change, and the change is just going to pick up. The slope is very, very steep, very steep.
Well, listen, we want to talk about your book, but I do want to ask you one thing just before we go on to that, because, and again, as I mentioned to you, my audience is SME businesses, is young entrepreneurs, is entrepreneurs, waiting to start in business or wanting to start in business. And one of the things I talk about regularly with people, particularly of late, who are starting businesses during these COVID times, is always making sure you're applying the right principles to your business at the right stage. So the people, for example, I had a guy on the other night, wanting to start a car balloting business, and these people kind of overcomplicate and overthink. They can't start before they've got a website, and they need this business card, they need this perfect logo, etc. And obviously I work with people very much to encourage them to to kind of get out there and not use $1 million business techniques in $100,000 business, $100,000 techniques in a new start business. But as you said a minute ago, you sold your company for $14 billion or 14.
Well, there was at that time. There was more than me that owned it,
for sure. But I guess the point I was making is, you're a guy who started as an engineer, who built a company, merged it, and ended up doing deals at a size with a B on. I mean, what I guess, different strategies, different mindsets. Do you find doing deals at that level to doing deals at the £1 million level or the £100 million level, which are still unthinkable to 99% of the population? Bearing in mind, you were a guy that started from scratch. What kind of mindset differences do you find?
Well, I'm not sure, Matt. They are different. You want to understand what the customer wants, and you want to make sure his or her needs and wishes are the same as yours. So you want to make your issue and your customer's issues the same. And that's the same whether it's $1 million deal or 100 million or £1 billion deal. It's the same. You want to focus on what problem you're trying to solve for the customer and make their problems and your problems the same. I mean, that's what good leadership does. Good leadership is empathetic to your problem, and I make your problem and my problem the same, and we solve it together. And that's what, if you look around the world, the leaders that you respect, they all operate that way. If you look at the ones you don't respect, they all don't operate that way.
Interesting. I like that.
I mean, if the COVID crisis right now, if you look at the leaders that are handling it correctly, they're being very empathetic to what the citizens' needs and fears and feelings are, and the ones that aren't empathetic are getting crucified in the press. So you want to just make sure, it doesn't matter whether it's £100,000, £1 million, or £1 billion. Make sure you understand what your customers' needs, desires, and problems are. Make them your own. I mean, so I think it's all the same, and be focused.
I mean, the word empathy is something I guess that gets used more and more now, and has probably become, I don't want to use the word fashionable, but let's certainly more spoken of than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago plus. I mean, as somebody who's been in business for a long time, I mean, obviously you've believed and operated by these principles for all that time, but did you find words and concepts like empathy were much fewer and far between, but back in the day?
No, I actually think, Matt, that businesses did a better job. There's sort of a global war right now on capitalism, and it's not. It's in some respects it's due, because in general, businesses over the last 50 years globally, in the UK, in the rest of Europe, in the US, in North America, have spent too much time extracting value and not contributing value to the communities they do business in. In the old days, you contributed to the community you did business in, and you also made a profit. Now businesses are more interested in extracting value as quick as they can, and that's made people wary of big businesses, and it's made governments fight with big businesses. And then big businesses are fighting with government, and government, of course, is only concerned with getting reelected. So they're not doing their job. So both parties are doing a really shitty job of doing what they're supposed to do. And now in this COVID or post-COVID world, we need business and government working together more than ever. And they're not. So businesses, so young guy, your daughter's going to grow up in a business environment that's very hostile compared to the one I grew up in, which means that she's going to have to really rethink how she approaches that. You can sneak by, Matt. You're in between. You can sneak by.
I'm still in that happy age group. Well, listen, let's talk about the book, Total Rethink. Where did the idea come from, and tell me what it's all about.
Well, the book is designed for not only entrepreneurs, but people who want to think like an entrepreneur. So whether that's in their personal life, their marriage, their business, they don't have to want to start a business. They just should, in my opinion, think more like an entrepreneur, think more revolutionary. Because Matt, from the beginning of time, almost, or let's just say from the Industrial Revolution up through the 90s, problems came at us in an incremental way. And we could come up with incremental solutions to address those problems. Now problems are coming at us like a freight train. They're coming at us very fast, and they're coming at us from all angles. Healthcare, education, the way we live, the way we work. Problems are coming at us because of globalization, because of technology, coming at us very, very fast. So if the problems are coming at you fast, you need very fast, revolutionary solutions to those problems. And this book is trying to help people think in a more revolutionary way, think in a more entrepreneurial way about their life, about their job, about what they want to do and what they want to accomplish in their life. Because the problems are so big and coming so fast, it's the only way you're going to be able to continue to think out these problems. And I address, everything from a rethink of the Catholic Church to rethinking medicine, to rethinking how people get paid, rethinking how we do our work. I mean, I didn't leave any rock unturned, but I think it's necessary.
Oh, so you're actually giving your ideas on how these organizations should be rethought.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how can you with the way between technology and globalization, with the way problems and the speed in which problems are coming at us, how can you expect to survive if you don't rethink it? Now, we have a whole new list of things we need to rethink now. Business travel, hospitality, events, convention centers, outdoor concerts, movie theaters. We have a whole new set of things that we didn't even know that we had to rethink, but we have to rethink them in real time, like right now.
And I mean, as well as obviously, giving your thoughts on how these businesses, should be replanned, rethought. Do you set out a framework in there as well for, I guess, for how the non-entrepreneur needs to start thinking like an entrepreneur? Is there a kind of a 101 for the person sat at home of what they need to do with themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what we really hope to accomplish with the book is that people will read it and rethink their own life and rethink where they fit in at the company they're in, or if they're an entrepreneur, or they run a small business, or work for a small business, or work for a big business, or they just want to rethink, their personal life. I give examples in my own life, examples of ways other people did it, and some suggestions.
Okay.
I mean, it's a good read. And anybody who, Total Rethink's the name of the book. David McCourt's obviously my name, but anybody who buys the book and wants to chat on social media, I'm at DC McCourt, so they can find me on social media. They can find me at Instagram or LinkedIn, and we can have a conversation.
Fantastic. And we can buy the book online at Amazon, presumably.
Absolutely. Any bookstore or Amazon. Just help. Jeff Bezos needs a little bit more money. Buy it from Amazon, I guess. Or buy it online from your local bookstore. Maybe give them the big. Oh, actually, now I'm being serious. Now, buying it online, if your local bookstore can get it for you online, probably supporting them is probably a better idea than Amazon. But either one.
Well, I will. I mean, I'm looking forward to reading it myself as well, and I will for anyone listening to this after the fact. I'll put a little link on here to with an Amazon click through or something, so we can make it easy to find the book.
Perfect. I appreciate that.
And again, obviously, like we say, never was a more opportune time for a book like this to kind of come out. I mean, how have you been, let's say, reacting personally, and in your businesses? I mean, obviously, I know you said you were supposed to be in London right now. You're over in LA, but what kind of changes have you made in your businesses? What kind of problems and solutions are you going through right now?
Well, everything has changed because I have a personal little bit of a pain in the ass because I'm 8 hours, from my office in London or the office in Dublin. We're 8 hours different out here, so that makes the schedule a little bit of a pain in the ass. But it is, it's amazing how much you can get done on Zoom calls. I have a week for that big project we have in Ireland. I have a weekly phone call with the government, and it's perfectly seamless on Zoom, perfectly seamless. So I'll tell you this, we're going to rent less office space. There's less office space in our budget going forward than there was in the past. I can tell you that.
Yeah, mine too. I mean, it is so funny how such fundamental changes happen so quickly. I mean, literally 2.5 months ago. I mean, the lease on our office runs out in the end of June, and we were sat there 2.5 months ago, starting to look at new offices from agents, which were actually bigger than the one that we're looking at now. And we 2 weeks into this, and I'm a guy who's always hated the concept of staff working from home. I've just never been able to get my head around the discipline, the motivation, the accountability. And I know that's my fault, not their fault, but I've just never been able to get my head in that space. And having had no choice but to first of all accept it now, and then I've kind of gone one step further to embrace it. I mean, I've spent the last 3 or 4 weeks learning about every possible home working tool, home working concept, technology, and now I'm so excited to not have to re-sign the lease, to not have to take a bigger place. And we'll be going down to a probably 70% smaller office in a serviced office type environment, continuing to allow people to work from home, and now being so happy with the concept that we will happily recruit in future, from a global talent pool on a home working type basis. So I mean, if you've got your head in the right space, there are so many positives to come out of every negative situation.
And it's good for people who live in rural areas, because now they have the opportunity to work for a big company in an urban area. So good for them. That is a positive for people who live on the fringe of the commuting distance to these big companies.
Completely, yeah, and I think, and as important as it is for the big companies or any company to embrace the working from home concept, I think it's super important now for employees to realise that that if they want to be let's say employable to their maximum benefit going forward, they need to learn how to be a better employee, as well as in the concept of working from home as well. But yeah, so much more opportunity for everyone on both sides of the table.
Agree, 100%.
Well, we slightly digress, but thanks a lot for being here, David. Just give yourself another social plug, and to just tell everyone again where they can find you if they want to get into.
If they after they get the book, well, if they want to follow me on Instagram at DC McCourt, I think I'm the same on LinkedIn and Twitter. Just follow me, and if they have a question about the book, feel free to DM me or on Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter, and be glad to respond to them.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks again for being here, David. I'll definitely get it on my weekend reading list, and I'll make sure when I've read it, I do you a little book review as well.
I appreciate that. And I hope you get better at homeschooling those kids.
Oh, I'm terrible at it, honestly. Mine's been lying on the floor for 48 hours telling me that she's on a free period. See you later, David. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Bye-bye.